reminds me a little bit of a story, and I hope I haven't told you this story before. But if I have, you got to remember that life not only begins at 40, but so does the tendency to start telling stories over and over again. And if I've told this story to you before, just be kind. Remember that when you pass 40, you begin to have a tendency toward lumbago and telling the same story over and over again. You know, I like to tell a story. If you've heard it before, if I've told it before, just remember that after age 40, you have a tendency to tell the same stories over and over again. Because you've got to remember that life not only begins at 40, but so does lumbago and the tendency to repeat the same story. But this is a story about, it was an automobile accident. There was a man stretched out there, and a woman was bending over him, trying to give some aid, and the crowd had begun to gather, and a man elbowed his way through the crowd, shoved the lady aside, and said, "Let me at him. I've had first aid training." And she meekly stepped back, and he went to work with all the things that he'd learned. And then at one point, she tapped him on the shoulder and said, "When you come to that part about calling the doctor, I'm right here." It's about a businessman who, just down at the entrance of his building, there was an elderly lady selling pretzels, and every day he'd go by and he'd put a quarter down and never take a pretzel. Go on in. He was being very charitable, and this went on for some time. And he came along one day, put down his quarter, and she took him by the arm. And he looked at her and he said, "Oh, you probably want to know why for this full year I've been leaving 25 cents on the plate and not taking a pretzel." And she said, "No, I just wanted to tell you that pretzels are 35 cents now."